Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of People in Tech, where in this series we discuss the intersection of people and technology through the lens of industry experts. And today we're with Michel Lieben, and we're back here in Barcelona at the studio. And we're excited to kick off this episode. So, hi, Michel, and welcome.
Hi, Gabriel. How are you doing?
Really good, thanks. So, for everyone who doesn't yet know, Michel, you went essentially from failing across multiple businesses and being broke at some point to now running a AI-powered business called Cold IQ,
Yes.
which is generating over 3 million in annual recurring revenue in under 2 years. And you're helping businesses innovate with automation and leveraging AI tools to improve the way that they work. So could you maybe run us through how you started, where you were before, and how it's gotten you to where you are today, which is incredible?
Yeah. So it's a pretty long story because, as you said, I did fail at a good amount of businesses. I think it must have been 7 or 8 businesses that I failed.
7 or 8. Wait. First of all, you just turned 30, no?
I just turned 30.
So you 7 or 8 businesses.
I've tried at least 7 to 8 different businesses, just because I've always wanted to. Even when I was studying, before I finished my studies, I just figured that I wanted to launch something. And so I was supposed to do my master degree, which I ended up not doing just because between my bachelor and my master, I started, playing around with online businesses.
Right.
And that meant that, once I opened my eyes to the possibilities, I just figured that just doing my master degree to get a job would be too limiting for what I wanted to do in life.
Yeah.
And so because of this, I just ended up in this entrepreneurial journey, which led me to start and fail a lot of different businesses.
Yeah.
But for me, the takeaway is that every failure actually brought me closer to a success, because whenever I was trying a business, I was always trying to get something away from this in terms of my skill set.
Okay.
And so, for example, this is a story I like to tell. Is one of the first business I launched was a lottery business.
A lottery business.
Yeah. So essentially, I first had like an affiliate marketing business where essentially I was comparing bookmakers. And the whole idea was that if you were going to bet money on sports betting websites, then one thing is, in Belgium at least, and in a lot of different countries, most bookmakers offer bonuses. And so what they do is they say, if you play 100 euros, I'm going to give you another 100. So now you play with 200, right?
Okay. So you go in basically with 100, and then the platform, whatever, matches that amount.
Exactly. And so this is their welcome offer. And the whole idea is they want you to play. And what happens is that either you lose the money that they gave you anyways, or you win. And when you win, what happens is that you think, oh, I made this much money, let me continue to play. And then you end up playing up until the point where you lose. Right. So it's a lose-lose situation.
Yeah, the house always wins.
Yeah, the house always wins. And so what I was doing, though, is I was curating all of the biggest bonuses. So there were 7 to 8 different websites.
Okay.
And if you were to register using my link, I would get a commission. And so that was one of the business I launched. So it was essentially a website comparing bonuses, bookmakers, and so on.
Yeah.
And this is one business that I had, and I managed to make a good amount of money with it because it went up to 8K per month.
Yeah.
And from one day to the next, it went to 0 because Belgium changed regulations.
Right.
And it was no longer possible to offer bonuses. So the bookmakers couldn't offer bonuses anymore to attract players.
And that wiped out basically what you were.
This was my whole business, right? So
well, how old were you when you started this business?
I think I were around 20. I was around 22.
22. And at that time you were studying, or what were you doing? You were doing your
I
bachelor's,
was finishing my bachelor degree
in Belgium.
Yeah. And then I went to London because I wanted to learn how to code websites.
Okay.
And as I was in London, I met this guy who I launched a business with, and who taught me this, and who showed me some of these things with the bookmakers and so on.
Right.
And so anyways, around that time, I got the idea of making this website. And the whole idea was that it was never going to be a website or a business that would be holding for the long term. It was more like a cash grab opportunity,
right?
Just because I saw a gap in the market.
Yeah, there was an opportunity there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But the big play for me was that with this guy, when we were doing this coding bootcamp called Le Wagon, we had to code an entire project from scratch.
Okay.
And so we coded this project, which was a prize competition.
Yeah.
And the whole idea, I mean, it's like the lottery, but instead of winning money, you would win an iPhone or a car or that kind of stuff.
Right.
So this is a business that we wanted to launch in the UK.
Okay.
We actually did launch this business, which happened to be a massive failure. But the takeaway for me is that despite this being a failure,
Yeah.
I learned a lot by launching this business. Because we had the business and we had to sell tickets for people to play in the lottery.
Yeah.
And the way I would be selling those tickets would be by running Facebook ads. And I didn't know anything about Facebook ads. So it forced me to learn Facebook ads.
So you learned first how to code, and then also now you had to learn about Facebook ads.
Yeah, exactly, right? So we knew how to code. We had some MVP of a project.
Yeah.
And then we ended up not even coding it ourselves because we just realized that we could hire some Indian developers which were more skilled than we were.
Yeah.
But then we had to advertise the business to find clients. So
Yeah.
this is how I got started with Facebook ads. And one thing is, when you are spending your own money on ads, you learn way, way faster than...
Well, you have to because you're spending your money.
Because it's your
You
own
have to
money,
find
right?
the right
You're losing.
formula, yeah.
Exactly. So I would be spending, like say, I would be spending a few hundreds per day, and I would only get like say 1/6 or 1/7 of
Yeah.
the money I was investing. So the return on investment was horrible.
Right.
But the thing is, once again, it's my money. So when people work in a company and they have to run Facebook ads for their company, they don't really care, right? The company is not profitable, but it's not your company. It's not your money. It's the company's
money. Yeah.
When it's your money, you learn a lot. And
Yeah.
so I lost a lot of money running these Facebook ads. But towards the end of this business, when I realized that it was not going to be doable and we were not going to make it work,
Yeah.
I had to make a decision. I was like, okay, I need to stop this business just because I think I invested a few tens of thousands in this and
Yeah.
I just didn't get back anything.
Right.
And so once I decided to close shop I basically sold my shares to my ex-business partner
Who you met in London at
that I
the
had
time,
met
yeah.
in London. And I was like, okay, what do I know how to do, right? So this was a tough time in my life because I had some family issues. So, the moment where I realized that the business was not going to work and I kind of got bankrupt, I also, was running out of money. And at the same time, my little brother, he died from cancer, right? So,
Oh, I'm sorry to hear.
yeah, so this is the moment where I put a break. I knew that I've always wanted to be an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
But at this moment in my life, I just didn't feel like I had the energy to just do this, just because I think it's one of the most difficult things to do, just trying to start and make a business happen just from scratch, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So because of the point I was at, I figured it's better to just, find a job,
Right.
which made me think about the skills I had. And I was like, one thing I learned to do pretty well was Facebook ads. And so I ended up finding a marketing job in a company where I leveraged and I improved my ad skills and I learned SEO and other marketing related skills. But for me, the takeaway though is that when I did learn the Facebook ads, so it's like I did the lottery, which failed, which taught me Facebook ads. And then as I was doing Facebook ads, at some point I had this idea of launching a Facebook ads agency,
Yeah.
which was a bit before I joined a company. And so I did cold outreach, cold emails to try to find clients for this Facebook ads agency. And so I realized as I was doing cold emails for the Facebook ads agency that it was booking me a lot of meetings. So I was talking to a lot of business owners, but none of them were buying. And at some point I figured it's, the mechanism I'm using to book meetings with potential buyers to sell them Facebook ads, this mechanism, so the cold email mechanism, is actually more powerful than the mechanism I'm trying to sell, because here, for example, I've proved that it works. I'm seeing it works.
Yeah.
And so the whole takeaway, the takeaway here, because I'm missing out on some details.
No worries.
But the takeaway is really that you launch a business.
Yeah.
By launching this business, you learn a skill like Facebook ads, and then because of this, it gives you an idea to launch another business.
Yeah.
So this Facebook ad agency.
And that's how you kept moving from one to the next,
exactly.
to the next, to the next. But at some point, you also had a fashion brand. Was that right?
Yeah,
Which is a whole different industry right now.
Exactly. Yeah,
was that prior to you embarking on this journey with ads and technology, or was that in between when you were taking a break? And sorry to hear again about your brother passing away.
For sure. No, this was the clothing brand was, I think, really the first of the first ones. So it was before the affiliate websites and so on.
It's funny I asked that question because that's how I started as well. And I also had a small clothing brand, and that was kind of what opened my eyes a lot into what it takes to start a business and the different blocks that come moving around, opposed to just creating like the actual fashion itself. But now let's dive a bit more into your current company, Cold IQ. For those who don't know, could you break down what it is that Cold IQ does and how you're leveraging the AI tools and automation processes to help businesses with their day-to-day work?
Yeah. So essentially we are a sales prospecting agency. So we help our clients find more clients, and the mechanism we are using to do so is cold outreach. And so cold outreach is essentially reaching out to someone who doesn't know you yet.
Yeah.
Right. So I want to sell my services to you. I will send you an email. I will send you a LinkedIn message, or I could call you.
Yeah, that first point of contact that you have with your prospect.
Exactly. And so in our case, we mainly focus on LinkedIn and cold email outreach.
Okay.
But once again, like some companies do calling as well. And the whole idea is typically, if I want you to reply, because you don't know me, right? So why would you even reply to me? If I want you to reply, I need the emails or the messages I send to be of high quality. And high quality messages typically mean that when you get a message from me, you feel like the message you received could have been sent to you and only to you. You saw that when I'm reaching out to you, I'm not just spamming the whole world.
Yeah.
I've actually done my research. I know why. I have got a valid reason for why I wanted to reach out to you.
Yeah.
And I give you a good argument for why you should talk to me. And so doing that actually takes a lot of time, because if I have, say, 20, 30 minutes to personalize my approach to you, then I can really look at your LinkedIn profile, see all of your past experiences, look at your current initiatives, and based on that, I can craft the perfect message.
Right.
But the issue is that if I do this for each of my prospects, then at the end of the day, maybe I manage to reach out to 10 people. And so what we do is we use technology and AI to do this research process for us.
Okay. So it's really curating those leads and personalizing the message.
Exactly.
And that is a process that you're leveraging AI and technology to really break that down. Because I feel like a lot of people have an issue with, a lot of people on LinkedIn have an issue with people reaching out to them and they're the wrong target. You know what I mean? Like you get a message, maybe you have a business which sells, I don't know, you do marketing. And then you have someone reach out to you, selling you the same services. Like, did you go on my profile? Did you see what it is I do? So I can see how important that stage is. First of all, identifying the right people you need to be speaking to, and then curating a message where they're actually going to be, heard and not just have something random being sent to them.
Yeah. I feel like this is something that happens a lot. It's bad automation. So you can automate the sending of messages at scale.
Right.
And so, people will just be thinking, I can basically send 10,000 emails every day.
Yeah.
So let me just send the exact same thing to everyone on earth.
Yeah.
And let me see if this works. And people do that, which I believe is a completely wrong approach, because with the technology today, you can actually go very granular in terms of what you will be looking for and how you will qualify people.
Yeah.
And so what I like to do is, I would say to you, hey, imagine you have all the time in the world to craft the perfect email. What do you research on your prospect? In your case, because you have a software development company, like maybe one thing you want to know is the fact that, I don't know, some engineer or like the engineering team just shrinked, or like the CTO just left the company, for example, because maybe that's something, or it's a pattern you noticed, is that every time the CTO left a company, then during the time as they had to hire another one, they didn't know what to do. And so maybe that was the perfect timing for your company to come in and say, hey, like we noticed the CTO just left. It looks like you've got an open position for a new one, but in
Right.
the meantime, how are you going to handle your software development efforts, for example? So this is just an example. I don't know if this would work. Just
I'm taking notes right here. That's actually a good idea.
And so the whole idea is you want to build some hypothesis around why people would want to be talking with you. Why would they be interested in your services? Typically, the best way to know that is to look at people who you already have as clients, and you just think what was happening within the company that made them decide to work with us.
Right.
And what you try to do is you try to reverse engineer this so that you find as many companies that are going through the exact same thing that your past clients were going through when they decided to work with you.
Yeah.
And the whole idea is that if you are to do these things manually, you will be able to write some very nice emails because people would say, oh wow, like I really looked at who left the company, how many people I have in the company, if we are hiring some other people, like the technologies we are using, the coding languages and so on. And so you could write an amazing email. And what we try to do with AI is we try to be, say, 90% as good as you would be if you were crafting this perfect email. But the difference is that because we did it with AI, it will take us 1/100th of the time.
Right.
So like by the time you manage to write like a perfectly crafted email, I managed to have, say, 500 of those, which maybe will be slightly not as good as yours, but still will be very, very high quality because you would see that the reason why someone is on my list of prospects is because I made some very deep research.
Right.
So this is mainly what we do. It's our whole business. I mean, it's not our whole business, but it's like let's say 70% of the revenue we generate comes from this, and is delivering those services for, at the moment, 50 active clients.
Yeah.
And it's typically B2B companies for whom we do that.
And do you find that there's one industry in which you get more traction over another? Or do you find that right now you're working with companies in completely different industries? Have you identified a pattern in companies that are more prone to adopt these kinds of technologies?
So it's a funny one because what I'm seeing is that SaaS companies or software companies, they will typically be faster to adopt these new ways of doing outreach, outbound marketing. It's just like the fact that they are already tech savvy means that they are open to trying new things. But because of this, it's actually more difficult to get results for SaaS companies. And so we do get great results, and these are most of our clients. But if you go and you look at some industries that are, say, like way
quite outdated.
Or much more outdated.
Yeah.
This is actually
construction, let's say, or for example.
Construction. Construction is a great example. I have a friend who has a construction company, and he was running the same campaigns we were doing, but he didn't spend too much time doing personalization or research. He didn't try for every one of his email to be different. He basically used a similar template that he sent to, say, 100 companies. And thanks to this, it was more than 100, it was thousands.
Right.
But anyways, he booked 100 meetings with his target companies in a space of a few months. He actually bought me a bottle to thank me for giving me tips on this. Yeah. But then I was looking at this and I was like, wow, it's crazy because the results he's gotten are, we have some clients who don't get such great results. Mm-hmm. And the reason why he gets these amazing results is because of the fact that he's going after like a very outdated industry. Yeah. And so if you reach out to a SaaS company and you automate some message, they will say, hey, basically this message is automated.
Yeah. They have more of an eye.
Exactly. Yeah. But for him, people were like, how did you do that? Like, did you automate that? You know, people didn't know, which makes it more effective. Right. That said, our bread and butter is SaaS companies because this is what we do the most. Yeah. And I kind of like the space as well.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I think the big question that's on a lot of people's minds is AI and automation going to take over the roles of sales development representatives and people whose main job is lead generation and appointment setting?
It's a great question. So it's a great question because if you look at the space today, you'll see that you have these AI SDR companies
Yeah.
that are getting massively funded. So you have this company called 11x that got, I think, 50 millions in funding. You've got Artisan. Artisan, I think they raised somewhere around 13 millions. They are based in San Francisco.
Okay.
And the space is becoming more and more crowded
Yeah.
just because the promise of you won't have to do anything and you'll have some AI do your own prospecting for you and you just have to attend the meetings
Yeah.
and close the deals is an amazing promise, right? Like you just get the software, you get some money in.
Yeah.
Which means that those companies at the moment, they are getting a lot of customers. Now, like the big integration point is if you let AI do the whole process, can it be as good as if you had a human on the loop? And so my take is a bit mitigated. So on one hand, I think that those tools cannot outperform the best salespeople.
Yeah.
And I think they are a bit far from outperforming the best salespeople just because of the fact that creating this, to create this, you need to have a sales experts and engineering experts that create a product that's able to resonate for every single scenario. But I think like every sale is different for every company is different.
Yeah.
Every sales scenario is different.
Even if they're in the same industry. And I think it's interesting what you said earlier on, where I think there's definitely a human touch that comes into it. Correct me if I'm wrong. If is there a meeting, for instance, that you set up when you're onboarding a new client where you dive into like things that have worked for them in the past? You mentioned, for instance, about creating a pattern or identifying a pattern. Let's say if you're talking to me, we're a software development company, and you mentioned about the CTO potentially leaving and that being a pattern that's worked in the past. Is this something you do with a human approach when you onboard new clients to identify those, and then based off that information and information that you have to create and curate messages? Do you find that that's an important human touch that you still work with?
It's extremely important because that's where the gold is. For me, when I think about like the best way to sell your product is to be an expert at sales and to be an expert at your product, right? And so this is what I tell my clients, is I tell them, hey, we do outbound sales all day, which means that the sales expertise, we have it. But then for us, the challenge is we need to ramp up our knowledge on your product and who's likely to be interested in your product as fast as possible, so that we are able to bridge and to merge those two competencies.
It's not just a button that you press and then it runs. You really need to feed it with the right information. And to feed it with the right information, you need to gather that information as quickly and efficiently as possible.
Exactly. Which means that having calls with them and going deep into why people bought from them, what do they think, who they want to go for, is actually the best way for us to build hypotheses. Because based on what they say, we say, okay, well, that's interesting. It looks like the 6 last clients you've signed.
Yeah.
There was this exact same thing that happened, like this example I gave you with, for example, someone leaving the company and so on.
Yeah.
And based on that, we'll build a hypothesis that maybe, and this is what I was saying, is if there is a new head of marketing that's hired, that they will want to spend money on technologies, which means that, a product that help save money on software buying could be interesting.
Right.
This is a random one. But in theory, you could feed this information to AI as well. So whatever they tell me, okay, what's happening in the account, maybe you could tell that to AI.
Yeah.
And AI would be like, okay, based on what they said, it looks like if someone leaves the company or if someone is getting hired or if someone changed job, then it's interesting. And so AI could create a playbook of a campaign where on its own, the AI would go and look for all of the companies where the head of marketing left and then would reach out to these companies with the same ID. So AI, in theory, could do this.
Yeah.
And they have some playbooks, some pre-made plays for some common things.
Yeah.
But it's just there are an unlimited amount of sales scenarios, which means that it's at the moment almost impossible, I think, to outperform the best salespeople. That said, I think the average salesperson is already getting lapped by AI because if you look at your mailbox and you look at your emails,
Yeah.
you will see, I mean, you were talking about it, you were like, I'm receiving some generic message, like
All the time. Yeah.
all the time. Targeting is completely off. Because some people, some salespeople, what they do is they just go find a lead list, you know. They will say, oh, let me find all of the CEOs in Germany. And they just think, okay, my product, what does my product do? My product, I don't know, my product automates the HR, some HR onboarding. So they will like just reach out to all of the CEOs, like, is it interesting to you? And then pitch their solution.
Right.
And this is what I'm saying is now those AI SDRs, you know, they have personalization in mind. So what they are thinking is, you know, I need to create a playbook based on something that's happening in a company.
Yeah.
Which means that if you look at the outputs you get, you know, for example, from Artisan, I was actually impressed with the outputs from Artisan because, you know, most people criticize those AI SDR tools, but I can already say, based on the outputs you see,
Yeah.
it's better than a good amount of salespeople. And so, and so the reason why those outputs are good is because they follow best practices,
Right.
such as keeping the emails short and so on.
Yeah.
But also they're actually looking at something happening in their target account. And now the big question is with the evolution of those AI models and, you know, the refinement, is it possible that AI SDRs at some point take over? And I think that this is a big question, but I think that within a few years, we will start seeing more and more of this just because they are coming to a point where they're just
Getting so good at it.
they're just getting better. Today, I'd say you should hire a colleague if you want some good outbound.
That's a good one.
But before, but in 4 or 5 years, who knows?
Yeah. But you're saying essentially that my inbox could actually get less emails coming in if it was done by AI, because if you think about it, if now by leveraging AI you're able to target your ideal customer a lot better, then I'll be getting less emails that are less relevant to me and more emails that are more targeted and more relevant to my business. So it could potentially even reduce the number of cold emails that I'm receiving.
Potentially, even though I don't think that's what would happen.
Yeah.
Because, you know, even for people to send you a very generic template, it does take some effort, which is why it's funny that people don't do the extra effort, because they still need to do some research, create a lead list, and use a sales engagement platform like Lemlist instantly, for example. And they will need to automate then the sending of these emails or these LinkedIn messages, which actually involves a lot of steps. And they do all that to end up sending a very generic message, which is a shame, right? But if you had an AI SDR, you would just click a button and then you would send some message. So the barrier to entry, I think, will get much lower in terms of who can just decide to send a message, which means it's much more likely that you will get a lot more messages, actually.
Yeah, well, hopefully more targeted.
Hopefully more targeted, but you can have some AI handling your messages as well in the future. So.
That would be helpful. And you're focused on automation and AI when it comes to sales outreach. Automation and AI could be used across multiple departments within a company. But generally for a company wanting to get into automation and AI within their own processes, where do they start? Because there's so much happening, there's so much noise going on, there's so much you can do today. And for companies that have been doing something a specific way for years and years and years, and now discovering that there's a lot more of an efficient way and a faster way and a more cost-effective way of doing things, where do they start? Like whether it's for their sales department or for another department, generally when it comes to automation, how does a company embark on that journey?
Yeah, so I've got 2 ways to answer that. Because the first thing is, you look at whatever you do. I mean, you just have to start getting the mindset of whatever I'm doing that's repetitive, it's very likely that there is a technology or AI that can replace that. And so I think the first thing you want to do is you just want to think as if you were delegating, right?
Yeah.
You just want to think of all of the stuff that you do that take up a lot of your time. And then you think, okay, because it takes a lot of time, I could hire someone to do it for me, so that I can spend more time on those higher value activities. But then as you think, okay, I could hire someone to do it for me, you could also have this mindset of maybe AI can do this for me as well, right?
Yeah.
So an example of this is I make a video, let's say this podcast, right? You can create some short videos out of this. And so you could hire an agency to do this for you. Or there are some tools like now this tool called Opus Pro
Right.
that
Yeah.
takes it and creates some shorts, right? Obviously, you want to judge, how good the tool is versus an agency or a human doing it. But
Yeah.
but there is the possibility. And so for me, it's the first thing you want to do is you look at your processes and then you think about delegating these processes. Instead of delegating it to a human, you think, is there a solution that exists, an AI solution that exists that I can delegate this to, right? So actually, this is the first one. Now, this is starting with you. The second way you can do is you can look at what those big AI companies are doing. So, for example, one thing I did the other day is I looked at the Forbes Cloud hundreds companies. And so you see like those the biggest tech companies by valuation, I'm not sure. And what I did is I just looked at them by valuation.
Yeah.
And one thing I'm usually thinking when I think about technology is imagine a software company, whether it's AI or whatever it is, that's able to make or to generate millions or billions. Like, why are people paying for this? In my mind, I'm thinking people are paying for it because they are gaining or they are getting some value out of this. And so I want to understand if you buy a tool that's supposed to help you make more revenue, and this tool is making 40 million per year, I'm like, how do companies make more revenue using this tool? By understanding how they do it, I actually discover some use cases that I had never thought of. And so this is why I love looking at new technologies. For example, on my website, on Code Like You, we have like this huge directory of all of the AI sales tools.
Yeah.
And when I see that some of these sales tools have lots of fans, I try to understand how these people use the tool, because probably it will give me some ideas around how I can use these tools as well to generate some revenue.
Yeah. Oh, that's a really interesting approach to kind of looking at the user pattern and going from the user's perspective, and then taking that as a starting point, and then seeing how you can leverage that. And when it comes to companies, as we were just saying, adopting new AI tools and automation, there's a lot of misconception I think that companies have when it comes to automation and AI tools. What, in your opinion, from your experience, are the biggest misunderstandings that companies have around AI and automation?
This is a good question. Tough question.
Do you find that there's some resistance to that change? Like an example, maybe I can break it down a bit more. And for instance, you reach out to a company introducing these solutions that you can provide. You're saying, look, we can make your processes more efficient, we can make your processes faster and more cost effective. Do you sometimes have people jump on a call with you because they're very curious about how you can do that, but they're kind of, you're face of that blocker, as in, I'm curious to know, but I don't think it's possible.
Yeah.
How do you navigate that? Is there an educational phase that you need to go through with them? Do you need to break things down and explain things to them? And then you may convince them, may not. But what are some of the answers that they've had, or the comments that they had, where you clearly can realize that they don't really understand what AI does and what automation does?
Yeah. I think, people underestimate AI's capabilities. It's really this case of they've never seen it, so they will see it, or they will believe it when they see it.
Yeah.
If you think of ChatGPT, and you think it was 2 years ago probably that they released it publicly, and this was a massive revolution, right? Mm-hmm. Imagine you never touched ChatGPT, and now someone tells you, hey, like there is this application. You can just ask it to do your diet or your fitness diet.
Yeah.
It will do it for you within,
and you've never seen it
5
before.
minutes. Yeah, and you've never seen it before.
You'd be like, no.
It'll be like, no way, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And so obviously you've got ChatGPT, and then you've got applications that leverage those GPT models to go and to and that ended up with some even crazier use cases.
More specifically directed to a certain use case.
Yeah, exactly. And so this is the thing, right? It's at this point, as long as I haven't seen it happen live, then I cannot believe it. And for example, I think I was looking at this tool called Runway ML. And you just write some text and it creates some videos, some AI videos, extremely realistic. It's like, wow, even I, as someone who's deep in this world and who's always looking at those new AI technologies, I couldn't believe my eyes. I was like, this is so good, right?
Yeah.
And so I think this is the first thing. It's really this matter of you've never seen it, you don't believe it until you see it. Which means that I believe the most important thing when you are selling anything related to AI is you need to show, it's like the show, don't tell.
Yeah.
Just because of the fact that we are still at an early stage of the market.
Yeah.
Now, there is this book that's called I forgot the name of
No
the
worries.
book.
We'll have to put it in the comments afterwards.
Yeah, but essentially it talks about penetrating new markets, and it talks about how now with AI, I think like the tech savvy people have wanted to integrate AI, but you have lots of people who are still reluctant to this, just because it does take some time to go and educate yourself around AI.
It does.
And you also need to know what you can do with it.
Yeah.
And so, because we are in this early stage of the market, if I'm reaching out to you to sell my services, I will try to showcase what I can do by sending the message. And so, for example, it's like, say I'm sending you a message, I'll be like, hey, Gabe, your company is, I don't know, that size, and it looks like this person just left the company, and you just hired this person,
Yeah.
and you are using these technologies, for example, something like this. And then I will just maybe do in the say in the PS line, by the way, this was AI generated. Did you notice? And so
that's proving to them that
exactly proving to them. And I feel this is the approach if you're going to be selling something that's super tech, super tech advanced.
Yeah.
You need to show. And the other thing is you need to educate the market around that. So this is why a big strategy of ours is to be posting on LinkedIn.
To educate them on what's possible with these tools to show them. Yeah, and I think that makes sense now that going back to the first question that I asked you about industries, like within your clients, which are the industries that are more prone to adopt your services? And you said SaaS companies they're closer to these innovations, they're closer to these things happening. And talking about staying on top of new technologies, do you find you're able to keep up with all the latest things happening? And at the same time run your business the way you're running it, because you're growing also in terms of your team and in terms of business in general. How does that happen? Do you have a co-founder who you focus on one thing and they focus on one thing? How do you manage the business when it comes to that?
Yeah, I mean this is a tricky one. So I've got my business partner Alex. So he joined me a bit after I started the company, and so we handle different parts of the business.
Okay.
Yeah. But the one thing I would say, though, is what I tried to do with these new technologies is I tried for these to be part of my business. And so what I mean by that is, for example, when it comes to AI sales tools, obviously we use them to run and to deliver results to our clients. But at the same time, I'm making money through these AI sales tools because, for example, I have this directory of AI sales tools. And if you use my link, I will make some affiliate commissions through this.
So you're still in the affiliate.
Yeah.
That's where you started as well.
That's how I started, and then I ended up coming back to this.
Yeah.
And so I just tried to have some financial incentives to have to be forced to stay ahead of whatever happens with AI and so on. And so for me, it's really this. It's like by educating the market and talking about the new evolutions when it comes to AI. With GTM technologies, then I can make some money just because if you end up using my links, I make some money. But at the same time, every time there's something that's very interesting, I'm like, oh, let's test this out. Because, for example, there is this tool called Clay. And, I was looking at all those AI sales tools application, and this tool called Clay, I realized was, probably the best tool out there to help me automate my outreach at scale while still being relevant to each person I contact.
Yeah.
And so as I discovered this tool, I implemented it in my agency. And so now everyone in my agency is more productive for it.
Yeah.
And so this is kind of the loop I'm trying to do.
Right.
Read about this, talk about this,
Yeah.
because I talk about this, we find clients, but at the same time, the best ones are implemented in my agency.
In your own business.
Yeah, and so we deliver better for our clients and for ourselves.
And you're also good at sharing that information with others, no? Because I've seen some of your posts and you share a lot of information on the latest tools, how to use them and whatnot. So you're also providing value in that sense. And when it comes to tools, automation, AI, you're heavy in that industry. What for you are some of your favorite tools that you use either for your clients, but also internally for your company and for your own processes?
Yeah. I mean, my favorite tool is clay.com. And that's because it's a tool that helps you create some complex workflows. So when I was giving you the example of, imagine you have unlimited time to write the perfect email, then Clay is the tool that helped me actually create these workflows.
Yeah.
And so it does a lot of stuff. It does data enrichment. So you can find email, phone numbers. You can personalize emails because they have some native integrations with AI models. They've got an AI agent that will look for information for you, that works like an assistant, and countless other features.
Right.
So this is the one we use the most. Then we use a lot of other tools, right? So when it comes to the actual sending of the messages, depending on if we want to send emails or if you want to engage prospects across several channels, we'll use Instantly for email, and we will use Lemlist, for multi-channel engagement.
Yeah.
So we use a tool that's called Attention.
Okay.
What's very interesting with Attention is that it records our meetings. This is something that's becoming more and more popular.
So you don't lose any notes, you don't lose any important things in the meeting. Yeah.
Yeah, you bring in, like, the bot comes in, records the meeting, takes notes. You just look at the summary, and then you're like, okay, this is what I have to do. And we use some data platforms as well. So Ocean.io, for example, is a B2B database to find prospects. And then we use a bunch of other tools. We use a lot of tools, so I could talk about tools per category.
Yeah.
But yeah, for the most part, like the few I've described are some pretty good ones.
Yeah.
And then actually I made a post about all of the tools we use. I have a YouTube video where I go through each of the tools we use to run our agency. I talked for 34 minutes.
Okay. So we can link that. We can link that to this video so that everyone can.
Maybe that would be the best way. So I don't speak about it for 34 minutes.
Yeah, I like using Attio for our CRM. I feel like it's a great tool to pull in information from your emails and from here and there, and just have everything in one place to have that overview. That's definitely one of the newest, I would say, and like good tools that we've started to adopt. And for, let's say, an entrepreneur or someone looking to get into the business of create a business around AI and automation, it could be for sales, it could be for marketing, it could be for anything, whether it's a service or a product. What do you think are some of the obstacles that they should look out for? Could be some stuff that you guys have faced at Cold IQ. It could be something that you've faced within your personal experience, or generally some ideas. What are some of the obstacles that they should maybe be aware of?
Yeah, the first thing is you need to be good at the skill you will be selling, right? And so when it comes to, say, being an AI marketer or an AI salesperson, you will need to educate yourself on a skill that didn't exist a few years ago. So, for example, you want to become a developer, you've got engineering schools and you've got coding boot camps. Now you want to become an AI-powered seller or an AI-powered marketer. How do you find some good information to learn that? And so I would say that this is the first one, is it's really trial and errors. Like I was on ChatGPT just trying a lot of stuff. Then I looked at 50 different tools. I found one that worked. I made some tests. I plugged these tools together up until I managed to find some process that worked.
Right.
But I didn't have a course to learn this. I just had to figure out on my own.
Yeah.
So now we have a coaching program actually where we teach this, but we just teach that for AI in sales, right? Mm-hmm. So I would say the first obstacle is really upskilling yourself. Mm-hmm. And the second obstacle is linked to what we were saying before, is the fact that you will be selling something new. So, for example, when you sell something that's commoditized, for example, I feel software development is something that all companies at some point will want. They know they will want it because they need it.
They need it, yeah.
Either you need to develop a product or you need to develop a website or whatever it is, you will need development.
Yeah.
And so you are doing something where, despite the fact that you've got some competition, companies want this. But then, for example, when it comes to AI marketing, it's like you are selling something that companies don't even know they need.
Yeah.
It's like they say, yeah, what's the difference between what I'm doing and what
We're already
you have?
doing this in our own way. Like,
Yeah, exactly. And so you need to, because first you need to find out how to do it properly, and then you need to find a way to present it or position it in a way that clearly shows that is superior to whatever alternative there is to get the same results. And so I think this is a challenge in itself as well.
Right.
So those two things combined
Yeah.
make it pretty difficult, but as adoption rate around AI improves, I think it's gonna become easier.
Yeah, no, it's really good points. And as we're starting to close, I want to ask you, looking forward, Cold IQ, where do you see the company going? Where do you want it to go? Or is it hard to kind of determine its trajectory because everything is happening so fast in the world of AI?
No, actually, we have a pretty clear plan. So, because as I was saying, our business currently generates over 260K per month, and so we have several ways we make money. So I would say 75 to 80% of our revenue comes from our agency.
Yeah.
Then we have a coaching program where we educate the market, and as I was telling you, we also have this, say, education platform about technologies that we can monetize through, for example, affiliate commissions.
Yeah.
And I think that with the amount of new technologies coming in the market, there is a massive opportunity to bridge the gap between, what companies think they know, and between those technologies, those new technologies that can help companies,
Yeah.
Because typically what happens is that you have an engineer or a developer that has like this genius technical skills that will put on the market some amazing but then they don't know how to market this solution.
Yeah.
And on the other hand, you've got lots of companies who could benefit from this. They don't know how to find these applications. And so what we are trying to do is we are trying to bridge this gap by creating this platform that will help companies find those very advanced applications.
Yeah.
And I think that we can do this while still running the agency, because the reason why you should listen to what we are saying when we say, hey, this AI marketing or this AI sales application is great, is because we actually use a lot of these applications to get results for our clients.
Right.
And so our credibility comes from the fact that we are actively running an agency delivering results for clients.
Yeah.
While we build this, number one platform when it comes to go-to-market technology education. And so, there is this website that's called G2, which is, say, like the biggest aggregator of software. And so what they do is interesting because they, help you find reviews around software across a large number of categories.
Right.
So you can find reviews for HR software, for accounting software, for sales software. But because they go broad, they don't go that deep as to how to actually use this software.
Right.
So
you like to go deeper into
yeah, exactly. What I want to do is I want to say I will not be talking about HR software or finance software because I don't know about this space that much. I mean, what I know is we are using some of these applications.
Yeah. And that goes back to what you're saying. If you're getting into this business, you need to be good at what it is that you're selling.
Yeah, exactly. So which means that we'll just focus on go-to-market technologies.
Yeah.
And where they go wide, we'll go deep, as in going on G2, you're able to find some reviews and what your peers think about the tool. If you go on Cold IQ, you'll be able to find out how to actually use. You'll have some tutorials,
right,
some videos showcasing how to use the tool.
Yeah.
And so this is one of our big bets for 2025, is really creating this platform. And the goal is for it to be the best platform on earth when it comes to learning about go-to-market technologies,
yeah,
whether it's AI or non-AI.
Yeah, that's really good. And on that note, I think we're at time now, so we kind of need to end. Where can people find you, find your services, find your information, find this platform that you were talking about? Maybe you can just let everyone know where to find it.
Yeah, I'm going to look at the camera. So you can find me on LinkedIn. It's Michel Lieben. You You can also find me on YouTube. I'm ramping up the YouTube content. And otherwise, if you want to work with us, you can find us at coldiq.com. So it's cold like cold and IQ like the IQ. So coldiq.com. And you'll be able to book a meeting with our team to learn more about our services and our offerings.
Great. And for everyone watching, thanks a lot. Stay tuned for more episodes to come. And as always, keep on exploring, keep on learning, and keep on sharing. Michel, thanks for being with us today.
Thanks for inviting me.
Yeah, all good.